Rasul. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, we left off last week. It was last Saturday. We were finishing off and talking about how we got to Surah Al-Nasr. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so now, sorry? No, we didn't finish it. But the surah is a very short surah. We did the long part by bringing the background of what went on, how many fath there was, 3 different victories after victory, and now the final victory is the victory in Mecca, where all of the Arabian Peninsula accepted Islam. Now, let's go through this again. إذا جاء أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح. So the Nasrullah is the reason, the sabab for the fath. Okay? So this is why Nasr comes first. And as we go through, I put these surahs here to show you, because it's sometimes difficult to understand the Quran if you don't pay attention to the sequential order of the Quran. Okay? We're always talking about the last 10 surah. We're talking about, putting the Quran in that way. Because when you follow that particular order, you learn that they're moving towards a particular mentality. That's what we're being taught. Just by the mafhumat, the understanding in the surah. So we're going to go through that, inshallah, when we finish the general tafseer, inshallah. So the Nasrullah, the help from Allah, comes as a result of our ikhlas for Allah and our following, mutabi'ah, obeying and following Allah's way. As we have that hadith that Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, that Allah tells us that there's nothing we can do to get closer to Allah except the fard. Those things that Allah faradat alayna, okay, like fardus salah, right, the 5 pillars of Islam. And then we continue to get closer to Allah by doing those things that are from the sunnah. And then finally, Allah, this goes with another hadith, that if we move towards Allah, right, then Allah rushes towards us. We rush towards Allah, Allah flies towards us, right? And this narration, He says that we don't do anything except for doing the sunnah until Allah becomes the hearing that we hear with, the hand that we reach with. And if we were to ask for something, if we were to make some dua, then Allah would make it a reality for us. Everybody follow that? These surahs keep us in that same mindset as we're going to go through. So Nasrullah is a result of us submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And allowing ourselves in qiyad to be directed by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us. And there are numerous examples in the Quran. When Maryam alayha salatu wasalam, she was told to what? Shake the tree. وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكَ جِذْعَ النَّخْلَةِ. She had to shake it. Do you really think that the dates that fell down were a result of her shaking the tree?
Yeah.
If we were all right now to go to a nakhla tree, as big as they are, and we were all to shake it. Now imagine it. Now I know women who are having birth, they have some enormous, incredible Hulk strength. But I don't think they can shake a tree and knock those down. So the result, the consequence, that was Nasrullah. You get my point? So we see now another example of that when Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when they saw Fir'aun, and then Musa and the Bani Israel said, we got caught, we're caught. And he said, Kalla, never that. Inna ma'i Rabbi. Say, Yahdini, I'm with my Lord, He's going to guide me. Right? And he takes the stick that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him to and strikes the sea. Do we really believe that the striking the stick was the reasoning for opening up the sea? No. So we learn a very important issue here. That we have to obey Allah and follow the way and what He said to do. He is the source of the consequences. He makes fire hot and burns, but when Ibrahim was thrown on fire, it was cool, was salam, right? It was peaceful for him. You get the point? Normally a woman doesn't give birth when she's in her 70s. But we see that Hannah gave birth, okay, at that time. So we have many, many examples that Allah is the one that makes the results. But what we have to do is mutaba'ah. We have to have ikhlas. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Okay? Doing your level best. Or we would say you're honest to God best. Only reason I use that word God is as the English expression. You know what I'm saying? Brings it out there. You do. Don't worry about what his level best is. You do your level best. And when you can say you're giving your level best, then that is what Allah says, "Ittaqullah mastata'tum." You fear Allah as much as you can, as much as you, up to your ability. Does that make sense? No. So, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, and then the victory comes. Now, when Umar ibn Khattab, he heard this surah, he cried. Okay? He cried. Because he recognized that this was a bidding, a voting, that the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming. The name of the Prophet, or one of the names of the Prophet, is Al-Mustafa. Right? The word Mustafa comes from the word Safi. Safi. Everybody see this? Saf was shay, something that is Safi, is pure, unmixed. Okay? We say it like this. We say mu in front of the word. Then we put the sad right here. And then there's a ta. Usually it's, ifta'ala. Fa, ta, ain, la. But here, because of the sad, we're going to put a ta. Okay? Mus. So the ta is ziyada. Fa, yeah. So mus. Ta, fa. Okay? Now the ta is the only added. So the sad, fa, safi. Mu in front of a word. Now everybody should know this. Whenever there's a mu in front of a concept, then that means the one who possesses that concept, who's part of it. A Muslim is one who is following and having the takhallaq bi akhlaq al-Islam, right? The one who's carrying the characteristics of Islam. A mushrik is one who has the characteristics and the activities of someone who's doing shirk, right? Someone who is muflihun, okay? This person has gotten success. You get my point? Ma in front of a word. Ma. Everybody say that. Ma. That refers to a place. Now this is very easy. Because we sometimes think like Arabic is such a difficult. It's very easy, especially for English-speaking people. Because there are so many terms that the Crusaders have extracted from the Arabic language. Even the word kuf. The word kuf. We say this in English all the time with the real meaning of it. It's become an English word. Remember I told you guys that the word kaf, it comes from, if you take say F. That same makhraj is, if you pronounce it hard, is where they have the letter V. F. Say F. F. So the word kaf has been anglicized as what? Cave. So the asl of that word is the Arabic language. Same thing here, kuf. Now make that fa hard and you have an English word, cover. Okay, you get the point? It's just mispronounced. يُحَرِّفُونَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. Allah tells us 3 times in the Quran that they mispronounce and change the pronunciations of. They can't even say Iraq. They have to say Iraq. Yet they can say Herzegovina because it's a European country. And their racism is just so apparent. We seem to be the only ones blind to it. So here, kuf, the English lets us understand really what the word means. Kuf, it's a cover. Because that's what in Iman, these ayatul bayyinat, they're real clear. Allah's made them clear. He designed you. And then he made the ayat, he knows that you understand them. So when you say you don't, that's kuf. You're covering it up. Okay? That's why the farmer is called a kafir, because he's hiding, he's covering up the seeds. Okay? The famous little town in Egypt, Kafr Shaykh, right? Because it's a big farm. So, let me go over here. So this word Mustafa is the name of the prophet. Safi is the root. Mu, one who. Ma is a place. What is ma? Place. So any word that you find ma in front of it, it's a place. What are we in right now? Masjid. So the root is sajda, right? See, this is the place for sajda. Masjid. Even if you say kun, right? Makan, the place that you be at. You guys get my point? And a mih, say mih, with a kasra, is a utensil. What's that thing you use on your teeth all the time? You get the point? What's that thing you go up to call the adhan? Minaret, right? You go on a place to give the khutbah? Minbar. You guys get the point? It's a utensil, it's something you use. And if you have these just simple words like that, it's very difficult not to understand the gist of the word, the spirit of the word. So here the word is Safi. Mustafa means that he's been chosen purely for one reason, for one thing. So when that reason is over, okay, he has no longer reason to be here. He's Mustafa. It also connotates that he's not going to get distracted because he has one focus, pure focus. Does that make sense? So when they heard this ayah, Abu Bakr, when he heard Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, he cried. This day I have completed for your deen. He cried because he heard that. He said, oh man, it's done. The prophet's life is going to be over. The revelation is going to stop. He said, nothing gets completed except that it immediately starts to decrease, become less than what it was in the beginning. That's what Abu Bakr's wisdom was. So, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ and the victory, the final victory. Badr, then Uhud, Khaybar, and now Fathul Makkah. Okay? وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ. Nas here, we're saying a general word for all people, but what was implied in the initial stages was the Arabian Peninsula. Because the whole world, all of Nas did not enter into Islam. Still, all of Nas have not entered into Islam. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. What's دين الله? إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ Islam. So that's the Quran, يُفَسِّرُ القرآن. The Quran explains itself in a lot of different places. Okay? So the deen of Islam is what they're referring to. What happened? Why were the people entering to أفواج فوج بعد فوج بعد كانوا يدخلون إفرادا بعد إفراد أو اثنتان أو اثنتان. Before they were entering one, two, and now they started joining big time. Why? The Arabs of Arabia, the reason why they didn't, it's not that they didn't believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they had some reservations. Why? Because the Quraysh were at the Kaaba, and they remember Amul Fil, the year of the elephant, and they remember that anybody, they yata'adda. Abraham came with his big old army, his elephants and everything like that, and he got turned away and destroyed. So Prophet Muhammad, to them Muhammad, if he's going against the Quraysh, there's no way he's going to get Mecca, right? Because it's ma'soom, it's protected. So they said, listen, let's wait. We're not saying he's a liar. We just got too much proof. However, let's wait and see what happens if he tries to go to Mecca, if he tries to go to the Kaaba. If he doesn't get turned away, then he is a prophet. Okay? But let's wait. And so when he entered into Mecca, and nothing happened except that he destroyed the idols and they took over, then everybody said, there's nothing. They broke the gates down. That's why they started rushing, flooding, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wave after wave, entering into Islam. They were just waiting for that thing, that sign, for him to enter into Islam. Everybody understand me? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Very important part right here for us, a takeaway. We're learning adab. Okay? What's the first thing you say when you finish offering salah? Astaghfirullah. So we're learning the adab of what to do when you finish doing a righteous deed. Okay? You start making istighfar. But we're also learning the adab of how to make istighfar. For in this place he said, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ. As a result of that, don't get arrogant, don't get partying, and everything, and go to an extreme. Because that's what happens sometimes. People go to an extreme when they win. They start thinking about taking revenge on those other people who had the audacity to be wrong or be on the other side. Does that make sense? But rather, we're told to فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. For us to praise Allah, glorify and praise Allah, because He is the source of the victory. Allah is the source. When He's mentioning all the asbab, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ways and the means are from Allah. We just went through the motions trusting that inqiyad. I keep saying inqiyad because I want you to remember what are the 7 keys of La ilaha illallah. Al-ilmu wal-yaqinu wal-qubulu wal-inqiyadu fadri ma aqulu. Right? It doesn't benefit anybody by just saying it does benefit, but what they're saying is, what they're trying to teach in this poem is that it's not just, we're not just supposed to just say La ilaha illallah and then not think about what it means. Even the Quraysh, the Kuffar, the only reason they refused to say La ilaha illallah because they understood it. So, Taubah, we who claim that we're following, we should understand it. Okay? From amongst the meanings, the major meaning why the Kuffar wouldn't do it, because of the meaning of Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in in the meaning of La ilaha illallah. Because it means that you're not going to ask anyone but Allah. You're not going to make dua seeking for anything, glorifying anyone besides Allah. And that was taking away their money. Just think they had a Coney Island going on. Okay? That's what it was. A big fair. You come in the Kaaba, there's gods all over the place, idols all over the place. Come over here, guys are pitching to you. Come on, put your money down on Hubble. You know, you want to get this. Come on, there goes over here. Oh man, you're taking up all the space in the idol. You know, and they had a thing going on. They got guys over here gambling around the Kaaba. They got women and men going around the Kaaba naked. This is a carnival. Key word is carnage. You know, this what they're doing, a carnal life here. You get my point? So for now someone to come and say La ilaha illallah, now you messing with our money. And this was the main reason why they refused to do that. Okay? So فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. So we're taught to make istighfar at the end of all of our deeds. And this is not the first time we're told it. That's what we see in our salah. All the time we're making istighfar for all the naqs, the mistakes that we've made, all the deficiencies that we have. Some people say, well, what are you talking about? The Prophet ﷺ, he made mistakes? Yes, the Prophet made mistakes. The Prophet is human. Okay? He didn't make a mistake in giving his message. But he did some things that, of course, Allah said he forgave his sins. We have the hadith. The ones yet taqaddam and the ones he did before and the ones in the future, showing that there are some minor sins. One of the major proofs is, what does Allah say? Abasa wa tawalla. Okay? Showing that this is a mistake that the Prophet ﷺ made in that regard. So we don't say he made a mistake in his job as a prophet. Abadan. Okay? Hal balad? Yes, he completed the whole mission. So he's making istighfar in this particular. Innahu kana tawwaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that accepts the tawbah and allows us to get back into the position that we need to be in as his slaves. That's the general meaning of the surah. You have any questions about that? Okay. Now let's put it into context. Okay? Because how did they get to Nasrullah? How did that happen? If we go back a little bit, let me erase over here. Let's start at Surah Al-Asr. Everybody take out the Mus'haf and look at Surah Al-Asr. I know you know these surah, but sometimes looking at it as we talk about it helps out. Okay? And if I ask questions and you can just answer real quick. We're starting with Surah Al-Asr. It's the 103rd surah, right? Let me know when you're ready. Page 601. No, I'm saying 103rd surah. Page 601, I'm sorry. Sorry? Oh, yeah, I'm using this yeah, the Arabian one. But also there's one 103rd surah. Yeah, that's the same one. You know, I don't know what you want to call it, the Medini one, because it's not actually the Medini one, but it's the standard one they started making since King Fahd, you know, those guys. Alhamdulillah. So now if we look at this surah, we're taking this surah just to go forward. Now we're not going to give the tafseer of everything, but what we're doing is a tafseer munasiba. sequential order, and some of the spirit of how these connect. In Surah Al-Asr, okay, now we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explaining khusran, how people are losers. Wal asr, he swears by the moment Adam comes to life. I swear by this moment. Because that's what when Adam was given life, Allah said, Wal asr, I swear by this moment. Innal insan, this insan is lafi khusr. And insan is ismul jins for all the people, man, woman, child, black, white, green, purple, right? Everybody is under that umbrella, from Adam to the last man born into the world. All of them are losers. Now the exception here is those who do particular things. What are we saying? They have knowledge of what Iman is, and so they believe. Okay? And they don't just believe, but their belief makes them do something. Okay? Amalus salihat, righteous deeds. It's general. Righteous deeds will be explained elsewhere. And then they work towards leaving the legacy behind them of establishing the truth, al-haq, the reality. What the reality is what is Islam, what Allah is, who is really in charge, all those real things in the world, and about the lies that are not existent, okay? And what tawasaw bis-sabr, and then leave the legacy, the understanding that we have to be patient with the adha, the annoyance, the hardship that comes with learning what Iman is, applying it in our own personal lives, working in our circles of influence with it, you know, teaching others, right? And then, again, the annoyance of applying it, learning it, applying it, and teaching it, and passing it down to others. And this is what we have to do. Now, that's setting a stage. We have the stage set. Everybody with me? I don't want, it's not a khutbah. Are you guys with me or not?
Yes.
Okay, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. What's the next surah? Humazah. Now, Humazah is Humazah to Lumazah. These words come together. It's indicative of a troublemaker, a somebody that's in every single fitna. He's either making a face up, or he's making a sign, or saying something, you know. It's this phony individual. We call it two-faced, right? A flat lever, a good time friend, or something like that. There's another word for it, right? What's it? The guy who's a good time friend? Fair weather friend. Yeah, fair weather friend.
Fair weather.
Right? When it's all good for you and them, then he's cool. But if something difficulty happens, you know, oh, I lost my camel. And they go, they exit stage right. So they can get it, and they talk about you and this type of thing. But there's more to it than this. In Surah Al-Humazah, what do we learn? Wailul likulli humazati lumazah. Wail. What is wail? It's like saying to hell with so-and-so. But do we believe in hell? No, hell doesn't exist. Hell is the kafir's version of Jahannam. So what do you believe? You believe in Jahannam or you believe in hell? You guys get my point? Because their description of hell is tied to the goddess Hell. Okay? And we don't believe in her. She doesn't run Jahannam. Okay? So we have to make very clear, it's a heathen concept. And the only reason they have it in our books, well, it's in the Quran and translated. Well, whoever translated that didn't know that was a pagan idea. Same way as Hades. And these are all pagan or heathen concepts. We have our own terms for these things. It's called Saqar. It's called Jahannam. It's called Anar. Okay? Jahim. And these are the terms Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us, and we use those terms and understand those terms. So Wail is a pit in the lowest part of, like we said, darajat, we have darakat. So darajat are up in Jannah, and darakat are, like, what is it called? Darakat, what do you call it? Depths, the depths of Jahannam. Okay, like we have the darajat, the ranks and the heights of paradise. So Wail is the lowest depth, all the way down. So it's worse than saying to hell with so-and-so. It's like specific to this particular pit in Jahannam with so-and-so. You can't translate it in English. It doesn't sound good in English because English, being a weaker language, it doesn't bring that same spirit, okay? But again, wail has become an English word. What do we call it? Wailing, right? And this is all these terms, these concepts, they come from the Arabic language and the terminology. And why not? Since we civilize most of the world. Okay? For everyone who is a humaza lumaza, alladhi jama'a malan wa'addadahu. Sometimes we end it, we could get the meaning. Wa'addadahu. Again, adda is an Arabic word that's become an English word. What's the English word for adda? Add.
Count.
Right. It's the same word. That's why it's add. Addadahu. Okay? So, we're getting lessons in English and Arabic today. Okay? And the reason why I do that, because the Muslim has to understand all the izzah is for Allah, for the Messenger of Allah, the believers. Okay? And dignity. And sometimes because of World War II, and then after World War II, the propaganda of this big bad kafir and this ignorant Muslim, we have believed that. Whereas everything they have done is just to hide the fact that they've taken what we've had and reconstructed it. The UN is developed and designed to imitate the Ottoman Empire. And it's a poor job. Okay? Poor job. But we are not as politically astute or historically read to know that, so it bothers our self-esteem in the way we should really be carrying ourselves. Okay? So, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ, the one who gathers his money together and he counts it. What is the combination? What's the correlation here? The correlation here is this person is under the fitna of wealth. And the fitna of wealth, what does Allah say? يَحْسِبُ مَالَهُ وَيَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَهُ. He thinks that his wealth is going to make him live forever. And in what we say يَحْسِبُ as opposed to يَحْسَبُ. It's one of those, we call hasaba as a two-faced verb. Hasaba, yahsibu, yahsibu. Okay, both ways. We have it in both. So he thinks his wealth is going to make him live forever. Kalla, never that. Okay? And then Allah goes on to explain more. But the point here is that what the takeaway is that Humaza, the surah we learn from it, the fitna of wealth. You get my point? How the fitna of wealth destroys a person's deen. This is what, see, because in Surah Al-Asr, we only mentioned, go back now, we only mentioned those things that you can do that you don't be in khusran, right? Think about it. Wal-Asr, innal insana lafi khusr. How? It's not mentioned in Surah Al-Asr, is it? Only thing that's mentioned this is what you can do not to be in a state of khusr. So the next surah tells us one of the main reasons why the people are in khusr, due to the fitna of wealth. You guys get the point now? And then the next surah after that, Surah Al-Fil. Remember, I'm just giving you a general tafseer to make you understand why the last, because we do not appreciate, we're thinking because of size, then that thing is worth. Okay? Now these are some heavy surahs here. The next surah, Surah Al-Fil. Now we know the story. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil? Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil? This is indicative. Kaydahum. What was their kayd? What was their plot? Their plan was to take over Mecca. Why? If you read the story, when you hear the story, Abraha, they were jealous of the Muslims' money. They were jealous of the size of the Kaaba and all the people that were making it, Hajj to it. They built a big, beautiful church. I was trying to think of the word. Over there in Yemen, right? They wanted to get the fame and the leadership. He wanted to run the show. Right? They came from Somaliland and Ethiopia, invaded Yemen, took over the place, and then some Arab came and crapped inside the church after they spent all that money and wiped it on the walls. And so they became known as the doo-doo church. No more fucking, no more bragging about that. They're so mad because now your leadership has been challenged. You want to destroy everybody else. We call it the Napoleon rule. It's not enough that I must succeed, but everybody else must fail. As they call it, the Napoleon mentality. Destroy it. And if I can't win, then blow the whole place up. You get the point, guys? So the surah is basically teaching us the fitna of sultan, the fitna of leadership, power. Okay? And this is the other thing that destroys the deen. The craving for good name and position. It's worse than wealth sometimes. Right? So these are the two major reasons why insan is in lafi khusr. You guys get it? We're not even doing the tafseer of the surahs. We're just taking the takeaway from it. And I want you all to know this and to be able to articulate this. Because if not, then what's the benefit of reading it? There is benefit. I'll tell you that too. The benefit of reading it, and even if you don't know what it says. Guess who knows what it says, Mr. Yaqub? Who knows what it says? Not just Allah, the evil spirits in the world. The shayateen around you, they know what it means, and it affects them. So don't think just because you don't know that it's not doing nothing. It is doing something. And oh my globe, they locked it. Alhamdulillah. So we have to understand, but it is preferred that we know what it means and know how it's connected. So now let's go through that again so that you can articulate that. Okay? And I bet you if there was some way I could charge you guys and say, okay, tomorrow, if you don't know it, you got to give me $100. I bet you everybody would know it, right? Or they wouldn't show up. I get emails, I'm sick, or nah, stuff. I'm not saying the beliefs would lie. But think about it, guys. You have to be able to articulate this. And the only way someone was asking how we do it in Mauritania. How do you guys memorize so much? We sit down and memorize. I mean, there's no secret ingredient. We don't have TVs, or we didn't have TVs in the 90s. I remember one person came with a TV into the village, and we stayed in the open desert for 6 months longer. I think we only spent 4 months that year in the actual village because somebody came and put a TV there. And me, I'm born and raised in the United States. When I came back to the village and I saw the TV, I was like this. Because there's so much color in the middle of the desert. Like, man, this thing is gorgeous. Look at all those.
TV in the 60s in the Sudan.
Huh? You guys were more advanced than us.
Not the USA?
No. Sudan had TVs and stuff like that way before. Before that, but the point is, before that, without the TVs, you sit down in your muraja'a for 30 minutes. You sit down and you recite for 30 minutes. And it'd be middle of the night and it's 9 o'clock at nighttime. But it's been dark since Maghrib. You get my point? So, he's like, man, it's late. It's like 9 something. And then you think in retro, wow, in the United States, it's not late. Why? Because the lights come on at nighttime and there's this appearance of, the night and day has been destroyed. It's magic. Okay? They've made the night like the day, which throws off our fitra, our natural way. Okay? And that's why we can't get up in the morning. And we're sleeping. In Arabic language, the word nama, to sleep, you can't use it with a sentence saying nama fi nahar. It doesn't go. It's impossible. It's inappropriate. You can say qalla, he was a qaylulatan, he took a nap in the day, but you can't say nam, kana na'im fi nahar. La. It's just a linguistic mistake. Qa'il fi nahar, taking a nap. Just showing that sleeping in the sense of slumber is supposed to be in the nighttime. All these things have destroyed our fitra, and if we went back to the fitra, then we would get a better result. Going back here, in Surah Al-Asr, what do we learn? Somebody call it out. The source of khusran. Well, no, not the source of khusran. That's not true. We don't learn why we're losers. Ahmed, what do we learn? I just got here.
We learn that everyone is going to be a loser unless he does the prescribed.
So we learn that everyone is going to be a loser. What's your name, sir? Ibrahim. Ibrahim saved the day. He said we learn that everybody's a loser unless they do these particular things. They believe, they work towards righteousness, and they leave the legacy of believing, learning, and being patient with that. So we learn how to save ourselves from khusran. You get the point? But we didn't learn what khusr was. We didn't learn what caused the khusr. Right? So then in the next two surahs, Surah Al-Humazah, we learn that one of the things that destroyed us is fitna of mal, the difficulties of wealth. And then field, we learn the fitna of jah, leadership and wanting to have position. Right? Those are the reasons for the khusr. You guys got that? Now moving along, what do we learn in Quraysh? Look at Quraysh. لإلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت. Right? الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. What are we learning here? What's that?
العبادة سبب العبادة.
Ibadah. Ibadah to demand. A demand, what is demand? How do we say that in English? It's like insurance. Okay? This is something that you can, what would you call insurance in English? What is it? Like, if I say, I'm a guarantee. There it is. Security, a guarantee. Right? Al-ibadah is a guarantee. Think about that. It gives you, you can feel secure with the ibadah. What do we learn from Surah Al-Ali Imran? How to be what? Firm on the deen. But note, in each one of the stories in Ali Imran, what are they doing when we get to the story?
Ibadah.
They're in ibadah. Zakaria, وَهُوَ يُصَلِّي فِي الْمِحْرَابِ. Right? Maryam, usjudi warka'i ma'a raki'in. They're in a state of ibadah. And this ibadah we mentioned is what helps them remain firm on the deen. Here we're being reiterated that point. And li'ilafi Quraysh, look at what's going on with the Quraysh. How easy life is because of them. Why? فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. So then, if you want that life where you're getting your wealth coming into and you're being in a state of sense of security and safety, then you worship the Lord of this house. Who is that? الَّذِي أَطَعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ. See, he saved them from the fitna of wealth. Get it? أطعمهم, he fed them. When we learn the 70 plus major sins, we come to an amazing understanding. Do you remember when we studied that? How many of the fitness of the major sins came from the stomach? Remember that? In spiritual warfare. We broke the 70 sins down to the sins of the tongue, the hands, the heart, the stomach, the private areas, the feet, and the whole body. And we were amazed at how many of those came from the stomach. Desire. Right? And from that desire, people will take a bribe. Right? So you see how that touches on something else. And we have to start to think about. And what's the dua we learned for the stomach? رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ اللهم اكفني بحلالك عن حرامك وأغنني بفضلك عمن سواك. Allah, oh Allah, make me, satiated. Get it? Satiated with the halal over the haram, having no need for the haram. وأغنني بفضلك, and make me free of need of anything besides you. الذي أطعمهم من جوع. He satiated their hungers. He fed them from that hunger, that desire. They were satisfied. Al-qina, we call it, meaning being satisfied with what you have. Allah says, لا تمدن, don't stretch your eyes at what the kuffar have. When Allah فضل بعضهم على بعض, that He gave some people they didn't give you. Don't worry about it. And He says it again. للرجال نصيب مما and للنساء نصيب. Everybody's going to get their portion. So we have this from Surah Al-Quraysh. This ibadah is going to free us from that ju' وَآمَنَهُمْ, and made them safe from the fitna of sultan. What happens if you don't have a good leadership? You have a despot. You have a, what is that word for the guy? A Trump. There's another word. Tyrant. Well, there was a T word in there. So. Tyrant, dictator. La li dictatoria, la li sultan abadiyya. Right? You remember that from Egypt. No, not Egypt. Sudan. La li dictatoria, la li sultan abadiyya. This guy was in there for 30 years.
The real dictatorship is in Egypt.
No, well, yeah, for sure. Sure.
No one will do it like that.
No, because it's the United States of Egypt.
Yeah.
But in any case, well, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, for our purposes here, we learned that Surah Al-Quraysh, the purpose here, one of the purposes here, is to teach us the lesson. Okay? Quraysh has that ilaf, they have that joy and security and like everybody is enjoying them, comfortableness that they have about themselves. If you want that, then worship your Lord. It will save you from the fitna of wealth and to save you from this fitna of leadership and sultan, wanting to be in charge. Does everybody understand these surahs in that way?
Yes.
You get my point? And this is not the tafsir. When we get to them, we'll go through the tafsir. But this is just a takeaway. Now we come over here. And we start, now the surahs take a different tone. What's the next surah? Ma'un. Ma lana wa ma'un. We are in a bad situation with ma'un. Muslims. We are in a very, very bad situation with ma'un. So now when we pick up Surah Al-Ma'un, now we're learning the ways that we can be saved. Okay? These are now the ways. So now we learn the general fitna of mal sultan, and we learn just the general ibadah. Now we're going to get some specifics to do. Okay? Some specifics. The first thing is to remember the rights of al-ma'un. Look at us here in the masjid. How many of us drag somebody in here to feed them today? You know? Or even fostered a relationship with somebody who was not Muslim or thinking about Islam, of all the people we mix with, to bring them to the masjid to feed them. Okay? And just to get them to sit down and hang tough. We don't have to, I don't have to be the Muslim uncle, It's got to be the uncle. You get the point? And then it'll come out in this particular way. So what do we learn? أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Do you see the one who's belying the deen? What do we mean by that? He's fronting. That's what it says. يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. He's pretending to have deen. He ain't got no deen. يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. So he's calling the deen a lie, not with his mouth, with his actions. Okay? So Allah says this person is perpetrating a fraud. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي, who is that? يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. He don't even feed. He don't take no attention to the yatim. America's filled with yatim. Orphans. I saw it, Auntie. You know what? I was with some of my friends from Somalia, and we were talking. And he was like, man, all these Americans are orphans. I was like, man, what you talking about? You're a snob. What you talking about? He says, man, name your fathers. Most Americans can't name, white, black, or Latino, can only name about 4 of their grandfathers. Whereas anybody else can name 20. You get my point? That's a yatim. That's an orphan. Family has been destroyed in the lands of the kuffar. Right? And that is the fiber of society. And they make up this new thing, they call it the nuclear family, right? To make it chic, fair seeming, to just be husband and wife and the children. You by yourself. That's a poor family. That's a real small environment right there. And then that doesn't let go of any of the hurt that we have with the other relatives that we know are still out there, that we have unresolved issues with them, right? But we haven't established a society where we can foster and push each other to do something and solve those issues. You get it? So this is أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. I mean, ذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. And we Muslims, we're the ones supposed to do it. But sadly, and reality is, most of the immigrants that come and have money and benefit from society don't give a damn about the people out in the street. And if they come over there, they'll call the cops and get them off the property. Or feel offended and scared when they come through. Am I telling the truth or what?
No.
And we see that. And so eventually the people say, I get it, and they stay away. They don't come by. It used to be that the masjid was always filled with about 1/3 of the people were kuffar. That's the way it used to be. Anybody remember 20 years ago? About a third of the masjid was filled with non-Muslims. Why? Because the Muslims had street credit. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ have street credit before he became the Prophet?
Yeah.
He was known as Al-Amin before he became the Prophet. And we forget that. He was keeping up with his relatives before he became the Prophet. So we have a lot with Isma'un because Allah is telling us we're fronting, we're perpetrating the fraud. You just throw the yatim, leave him to himself. How many people we see there on drugs? We see they have the sickness. We're not here to give them, make that they have the plague because they have a sickness. If the doctors did that, what would we do? Right? We're supposed to provide for that. Did you know that Muslims invented hospitals and hospices? An environment for healing. And that's not going to happen unless we all take it upon ourselves to become educated about our deen, which is going to be the next thing. And we have ikhlas. Ikhlas, which is going to come the next one. So it says here, وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمَسَاكِينَ or miskin في هذا القراءة. In this qira'ah. How many times a week are we feeding the poor? Where's our soup kitchen? I'm asking, brothers. We read this surah. Where is our soup kitchen? That's the problem. And it would help us. Okay? It would help us. It would enhance our quality of life. Okay? If you understood that, you go to Surah Al-Duha or Alam Nashrah. Those two surahs are the surahs to alleviate depression. We'll talk about them another time when we get to those. So this individual here, this person here, that's just one thing. That guy, even if he's not Muslim, this individual. Now this next one is a hypocrite. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Now again, the pit in Jahannam, the lowest part. Who gets the lowest part of the fire amongst the believers? The munafiqun, right? So Allah is saying here, now this next group are munafiqun, hypocrites. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Okay? Alhamdulillah, he didn't say fi salatihim. Ala salatihim, they're taking it sahan. They're taking it, they're forgetful about it, they don't pay attention to it. Allah, alhamdulillah, he didn't say fi. If they said fi, we'd be in trouble. Okay? Because we forget in our salat too. And we don't pay attention. But we can correct this. And this, Allah tells us how to correct it. Come to the masjid. Because he said coming to the masjid makes the salah 20-something times easier, right? Makes it easier. So if you got a problem with keeping your salah, then come to the masjid. It'll be easier for you. It'll give you something that you won't get elsewhere. Make it right away and develop that habit. Developing the habit leads to developing it as ibadah. Because the habit, like if you set your clock for 3 o'clock every morning or 4 o'clock, what will happen after a while? You wake up automatically. And if you oversleep, you'll be feeling strange because you feel like, man, something's wrong. I missed it. If you read the Quran every day, 10 pages a day, 10 pages a day, keep going through, and then one day you miss it, you're like, man, I don't feel good. I missed my medicine. Right? So developing a habit will eventually develop the ibadah. But don't be satisfied with the habit. Okay? Push consciously and with the intention to make it an act of ibadah. It's ibadah when you don't need to turn the alarm clock anymore. It's ibadah when you have the craving in your heart for it. And you feel the bubbling in your stomach an hour before. Or whenever it is. I used to play basketball in high school and actually even for the Marine Corps. I played for the Marine Corps. And before practice, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd feel my stomach like I was sick. Because I wanted to get to the gym. I wanted to get there right when they opened it up so I could be the first one and show my eagerness. And after I started to learn about ibadah, I said, man, that's what I'm supposed to be feeling when it's time for the masjid. I know a guy who went to Pakistan. He was working. White guy. He was working as a mercenary. And then he found a Tablighi Jamaat, actually. And he accepted Islam. They told him there was this thousands of barakah for catching Salatul Fajr. He came back, he went to California, he looked up in the, this is back in the days, there wasn't no internet. He looked in the yellow pages and found the local masjid, and he drove there an hour early so he can get in there before it got crowded. He said it was almost sunrise before one guy came and opened up the place. He said after that he didn't pray for about a year. He said the guy came, he said, hey, where's everybody? And he said, well, man, this is it, it's just me and you. He said he prayed after that. He said he didn't even come back. He said, we're just so happy he moved to another town and gave it another shot. And there were some brothers in there, and he started to, he said, I'm glad I found some people. And he told us the story. And he started coming to the masjid for that. See what we do? How we drive people away? Yeah. So, Allah's teaching us, they just do it to show off. And this is the kicker right here. And they prevent the ma'un, the neighborly needs. That's why I'm saying, what are we doing for these people? You get my point? It's not my statement. Allah saying, and what are we doing for these people? Walking past them, ignoring them? You get my point? And Allah is telling us that this is a sign of hypocrisy. كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلُ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. Allah tells us you used to be just like that. فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ, but then Allah blessed you. So all you got to do is tabayyanu, make it clean, make it plain to the people. Clarify. Put somebody on. So this surah right here is to let us know that we have to break ibadah down into two types. Ada'u haqqullah wa ada'u khalqillah. Okay? Giving and performing for Allah and giving service to His creation. Okay? And this will save us from the fitnas that we find in humazah and fear. The fitna of wealth, the fitna of leadership. Okay? It will save us from the khusr that Allah warns us in Surah Al-Asr. Does that make sense? Now, going right along, we go to the next surah. What's the next surah? Al-Kawthar. Don't skip Kawthar. Kawthar is a big surah. Now, how is Kawthar? Kawthar is about mutaba'a, ittiba', following the messenger of Allah. How did you get that? You got to pay attention to this surah. Allah says in the last ayah, Inna shani'aka huwa labtar. What is shani'a? A shakhs is the person who yadidduhu, the person who opposes him. Okay? The person who opposes somebody else, that's his shani'a. He's constantly at his opposite of diddahu in everything. So, mukhalifat al-rasul, yani whoever goes against the messenger of Allah, not following his way, not following his sunnah, then this is the one that's cut off. And so that's why this surah is called al-mutaba'a, teaching us one of the ways for us to get this success is to make sure we follow the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah said, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Because for salah is for your Lord. إِخْلَاصٌ لِلَّهِ. فَصَلِّ لِمَنْ لِرَبِّكَ. Because in the last ayah, in the last surah, he says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ So they're making the salah, offering the salah, yura'un, to be seen of people, right? So Allah says, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ. And this surah, the solution is you pray sincerely and wholeheartedly and only for your Lord. You see the connection here? One heart. And what is the one heart? It's to slaughter. And when you slaughter, can you eat all the meat? So what happens with them in harim? Those people who slaughter, they give it away. They give a lot of it away. So this is again talking about what? Giving it to the khalqillah. Spreading it out. Sincerely for Allah with your salah. Remember I said breaking the ibadah down into haqqullah wa haqqul ibad. Sah? You guys follow me? No. These surah are in order on purpose. We're just saying how it goes together so that we can take a new approach, the proper approach to understanding these surah. Maybe some scholars say that Surah Al-Kawthar is the most read surah after Al-Fatiha. Because we learn it sigar, we learn it as children, or as first when we come to Islam. And then we're constantly reading it because it's quick. But if we could appreciate what's in it, then it would have more meaning. And Allah says that He's testing us, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, not أَكْثَرُ عَمَلًا. He's testing to see which one of you do the best of these, not the most of these. يُوزِنُ عَمَلْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. He's going to weigh the deeds because they have quality. You get my point? And that quality comes out when you put some weight to it, right? Some meaningfulness to it. And this only comes with understanding what we are doing and the meanings of the speech of Allah. It is the greatest thing we have going for ourselves. If we would just natadabbaru, if we would just think about it and contemplate over the meanings and be conscious of it and repeat it and regurgitate it over and over again. So redundantly, learning is redundance, right? Yeah. So you say it over till you remember it and everybody around you remembers it and it becomes common knowledge. What's the next surah? Al-Kafirun. This is Surah Al-Ikhlas. Surah Al-Kafirun is called the Surah of Ikhlas. Isn't that funny? Because we recite this surah and in the morning time, and then we recite Surah Al-Ikhlas next to it, right? But Surah Al-Kafirun is considered the Surah Al-Ikhlas. Why? Because this surah follows Surah to what? What surah does it follow? Surah Al-An'am, right? Surah Al-An'am breaks down all the quls in Surah Al-An'am, right? Surah Al-Fatiha, what? Ma yuqabilu Surah Al-Fatiha? Surah Al-Nas. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. قل أعوذ برب الفلق قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس. Both du'as at the beginning, at the end. All forms of tawheed are used. Acknowledge them here, seek refuge in Allah with them over here. Then Surah Al-Baqarah, we have the stories of Musa and dealing with sihr and magic, and also dealing with the hasad and the evil eye of the people Bani Israel. What do we have? Surah Al-Falaq, right? The same thing, seeking refuge from the evil that Allah has allowed, and also the voodoo and the ayn and the hasad of the people. Next surah, Surah Al Imran. We take from that what? Isa ibn Maryam is not God. Why? Because he is not Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Not ever living, self-subsisting. Right? And so we hear what's the most repeated line in Surah Al Imran? La ilaha illa huwa. And it's most repeated than any other surah in the Quran. And what does that mean? Allahu ahad. Right? And so yuqabiluha with Surah Al-Ikhlas. Then the next surah, what's Surah An-Nisa? And it's an example of what? A family, the two pillars in the family. Who are the two pillars in the family, people?
Husband and wife.
Husband and wife. What are they doing? What are we learning in Surah An-Nisa?
Working together. Righteousness.
The roles of the people in the society. And the society is based on the family, right? And so then they strive together to get Jannah. And what's the opposite of it at the end of the Quran? Message, which is the same thing. Two people in the family, the husband and wife. What are they working for?
Sure.
Jahannam.
Fire.
They're working for adawa, wal atham, wal dalala, wal kufr. Right? That's what they're pushing and promoting. And we see what happens to them. What's the next surah after An-Nisa? Al-Ma'idah. So what do we learn from Surah Al-Ma'idah?
Keep our oath. Keep your covenant.
Keep your promises. Right? Awfu bil-uqud. Right? And this is the last surah completely coming down. Mutimmatun si Surah Al-Baqarah. Completing and giving details of what came general in Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet died some days after Ma'idah was finished. Everything in Ma'idah you find is the final word on that particular issue. And constantly, what are we finding there? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. How many times?
16.
16 times. More than any other surah in the Quran. And he ends it up over at the end. He says, alaykumu anfusakum. Focus on yourselves. If everybody else breaks their promise, you don't break yours. Right? And then we get the story Al-Ma'idah, the Last Supper. Right? What is the purpose of that story in Surah Al-Ma'idah? What's the connection with that, with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu? Does anybody remember? I'll tell you then. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, when the story of Al-Ma'idah, The people, the disciples of Isa, what do they ask him for? A sign, an ayah. If you just show us a sign, we'll believe. And so Allah sends them down that sign that they asked, that Ma'idah, that Last Supper. And then he tells them, look, now, anybody who now breaks their word and breaks their covenant, breaks their promise, after this clear sign has come to you, I'm going to punish you like I've never punished anybody fil alameen. That's what don't you have enough signs? Haven't we said something? What does it say in Surah Al-Ma'idah? Remember to fulfill your covenant when you said sami'na wa ata'na. When you said we hear when we obey. And then Allah says, Qala Allah, second to last ayah. Al-yawma yanfa'u sadiqina sidquhum. Today, the one who told the truth and kept his promise, he will benefit from his sidq. What's the mafhum? They understand is the one who lied and didn't keep his promise. He's going to get what was promised to him too. Okay? And what's the opposite of that? Surah An-Nasr. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. You do that, you get that victory. You guys get my point?
No.
And then after that, we have Surah Al-An'am. Surah Al-Hujjah. It's the surah of proofs. The arguments. The ulama say you should not stand up to talk about what Allah says and what His Messenger says unless you've memorized Ali Imran and Surah Al-An'am. Because in Surah Al-An'am He says, Qul, say this. Don't say what you want to say, auntie. Say what Allah said. Does that make sense? And if you're not going to say what He said, why you think your word is better than His? Your argument intellectual is better than what Allah said? To say to them, and their situation is laid out. Qul, 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 qul. And what yuqabilu dhalik? What goes next to that? Suratul Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. And this surah is called Suratul Ikhlas because in this surah we are taught that we are for Allah, period. And nothing else. Don't expect me to do nothing else. You see, I'm not going to worship with you. And don't expect me to worship with you. And I ain't even expecting you to do this. I don't care what you're going to do. Lakum dinukum wali dini. Or in Hafs, waliya deen. Okay? So it's clarifying. Listen, and why are we reciting this surah early in the morning, guys? What is the benefit of reciting it first thing in the morning? Say again? You establish. No, don't give. That's too general. Give me something different. Now forget. Listen, you getting up in the morning and first thing you saying, you reaffirming your stance. You're saying from the very first moment you get up in the day, you say Alhamdulillah, you make wudu, and you get up and you say Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun la a'budu ma ta'budun. You are saying today I'm not worshiping no kafir. You're reminding yourself. You establish yourself for. It's like saying La ilaha. And then in the second rak'ah, what do you say? Qul huwallahu ahad. So you're saying illallah. You see that? I'm worshiping Allah. Allahu samad. What is a samad? Alladhi lam yalid wa lam yulad. The one who lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad.
We were talking about Surah
Not wise.
breaking the promise and Nasr of not keeping your oath, the consequences of that.
Well, we spoke about that. That's a different breakdown. When you see, when you get to that, Nasr is responding to walam yakun lakum dinukum waliya deen. Some of the ulama say when you get to this line, lakum dinukum waliya deen, you have your way and I have mine. You can ask the question, well, what do I get if I follow the deen of Islam? A Nasrullah. Okay? And what happens if I don't? Tabbat yadak. Okay? Destroyed is, you know, that's how you can put it. There's many angles we look at these surahs to show how they're connected. Does that make sense?
I was saying in regards to Surah Ma'idah, keeping your
Promise.
oath, your promise.
Now,
And Surah Nasr goes along with that, with not keeping your promise. The results what happened to the people in Mecca at the time for not keeping the promise, for breaking
the oath of Ibrahim, of Ismail, by not following the covenant, maintaining the Kaaba.
the Hudaybiyah, the pledge that they made.
Oh, mashallah, that's excellent. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah, I didn't think of it that way and I never heard of it. I'll check that out. Mashallah, barakallah fikum. That's true. They broke their promise, but that caused the Islam to come over and take over that place as well. Barakallah fikum. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. And that's excellent. He's meant to mention this excellent point that we can't just sneeze at, is that if we look at Surah Al-Nasr also, it shows an example of people who broke their promise. They broke the promise of Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And you see what happened. They lost their whole ri'ayah. They lost their whole position in Mecca at that time, based on that. And barakallahu feekum. So I put these here so that everyone could pay attention to that. Once we get to Kafirun and Kawthar, we learn two things now. After we went through all of that, we learned that in order to vouchsafe your deen as an individual, you need ikhlas, sincerity, and mutaba'ah, and following the Prophet's way. And if you do that, then you'll be saved from innal insana lafi khusr. Does that make sense? Please, put this in your mind. I know we went a ways through it. I'll be asking you tomorrow about it. There'll be a $5 fine for everybody who doesn't know it, you know, or $10. I can't count by five, so we'll give 10. Be easy that way, inshallah. We got to find some way to get the people motivated to learn. And this is not just the tafsir. This is what we call tafsir munasiba, meaning showing how the sequential order of the surahs, how they are connected, okay, and bringing us guidance just through the order. Because the kuffar say that this is all happenstance, that the surahs are just in order any old way. Does that look like that's in any old way, Ibrahim? No, it's not any old way. There's a wisdom behind the orders of the surahs. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Are those in a specific order?
No, Islam has come to preserve and protect, prioritize and always respect my deen, my mind, my wealth, my honor, my lineage, myself. These are called the maqasid of the Sharia. Okay? The main objectives of the Sharia. And you find them all listed in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Just like in Surah Al-An'am, you find the qadr of Allah, a comprehensive, detailed breakdown of the qadr of Allah in that surah. It is the most detailed surah on Aqidah in the whole Quran. But in Surah Al-Ma'idah, you find Islam has come to preserve and protect, to prioritize and always respect my deen, my mind, my wealth, my honor, my lineage, myself, my deen. So shirk is haram, okay? And tawheed is not. It's promoted. That preserves my deen. But why? How? Through traditions. That's how your deen is preserved. Traditions come from one or two sources, from Allah, or they come from shaitan. Where's Christmas come from? Shaitan. You get my point? Where does the Eid come from? Allah. You get my point, guys? So your deen is preserved through your traditions, and this is one of the reasons Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. Fulfill your traditions. Fulfill your habits that you're doing, as long as they don't oppose Islam. Does that make sense? Because that's honoring your walidain, your ancestors, your parents. U'budullahi wa bil walidaini ihsanan. Worship Allah, and with regards to your ancestors, treat them in an excellent way. So there's nothing wrong with following, having the ways your parents tell you to do things and this, that, like, as long as it doesn't oppose Islam. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And as long as it doesn't oppose one of the maqasid of the Sharia. It's like my deen, my mind. My mind has to be preserved. That's why you shouldn't let your children watch these little idiot machines that they're always playing with. They come even to the masjid and lean against the wall. No character. It breaks their moral construction down. They get irritated and think that this thing, and everybody wants to be sarcastic. And this stuff, and even watching, reading dumb books about what's the little SpongeBob and stuff like that. No benefit in this type of education. And it ruins their mind. Or even the movies, where by the end of the movies, we're rooting for the criminal. Right? Oh man, he's a great thief. He's a great murderer. Right? We're wishing this because our mind has become corrupted by watching this, viewing this type of stuff. And there is sane, healthy programs online that you can watch. A lot of them learn Arabic. Learn Arabic. I mean, we're not these idiots that can't learn Arabic. We're just not making time for it. Okay? We're not making it a must. So my mind has to be preserved. And that's why reading the Quran and learning one's deen helps preserve that. The raqa'iq, the stories of history that give us a heart and break our hearts and encourage us and motivate us. This is promoted. My deen, my mind, my wealth, all types of deception in business and thievery and killing for money has been made haram. But business has been made, property and profitable. And so is sadaqah, to preserve my wealth, right? You can make money. My deen, my mind, my wealth, my honor, my lineage. Marriage is promoted in Islam. Okay? I'm amazed now people want to get married and don't want to have children. It doesn't make sense. The Prophet ﷺ said, marry so we can have children. He said, marry al-walud wal-wadud. But we keep following someone else's system, someone else's aqeedah and worldview, that the child, the young lady and the young man have to be in their 30s. They've lived. They've gotten habits and they're hard to break. They're not used to sharing. Right? They're not used to sharing no more. They're irritated about the child as opposed to growing up with those children. Of course, but they're immature, but that's why they're supposed to have other family with them. They say the strongest family in the world is the Asian family. Asia is a huge place. You have Far East Asia, you have Middle Asia, So you have Indo-Pak, you have the, the Desi, you have the Asian from Far East Asia, Chinese, Japanese stuff. Why? Because in their houses, they have 3 generations. You have the grandparents, the parents, and the uncles, right? And then the children have the cousins and everything like that. This person is secure. I don't want to listen I go to my grandparent. That's going to slow the parent down, right? Yeah. It gives stability, family. Okay? So we have to relearn what it is that establishes this family and keep our children closer. We get learned what? Kick them out. 17, go. 15, go. You're on your own. Where did we get that from? Slavery. That's where we got it from. Hating each other. I ain't got enough for you, do for yourself. Right? Oh, I don't like you no more. So we have to readdress this type of mentality. All this is coming from kufr. My honor, my lineage. Honor is the woman gets to choose who she marries. If she can't be forced into the marriage, that gives her honor. She gets a dowry. That has to be paid and we need to enforce it somehow. How many people get married and don't get a woman what her full dowry is? And force the woman to say that she gave it up. Trick her into it. And tell her she better not tell the imam. Yeah. What did we learn in Surah An-Nisa? What was the fundamental thing we learned in Surah An-Nisa? What's the theme? Justice. To the weakest person in the society so that everybody above that gets it. And that's why the orphan was pointed out.
I mean, Surah Nisa.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you thought you said Surah. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Alhamdulillah, no problem. $10 after class. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
5.
Myself. I cannot commit suicide. I cannot kill myself. Oh, lovely. That's good. So, mashallah. So look, if I can't kill myself, then I can't kill nobody else. You get that point? So the Muslim Ummah has to be safe. Myself, we learn dignity. Dignity for the human, his own self. Okay? And if we would focus on those maqasid, and every Muslim should know the maqasid of Sharia. And this is why we put it into a poem. Because we know everybody doesn't know English. Arabic. So we put it in English to help people. Islam has come to preserve and protect, prioritize and always respect my deen, my mind, my wealth, my honor, my lineage, myself. So we should learn these little ditties in order to preserve our deen, the concept. Okay?
What does maqasid mean?
Maqasid means the objectives of the Sharia. The objective of the law of cutting the person's hand is to preserve your wealth. Get it? The objective of marriage is to preserve their honor and your lineage. You get the point? The objective of Tawheed is to preserve righteous traditions. Okay? And to prevent shirk. And the advent of shirk traditions from becoming prevalent. You get the objective of the laws. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.